Okay, so the dogs have been let inside, so I'm not gonna get interrupted. At least I don't think so. I hope not. So now I can talk about football. So last week was the wild card round. Tomorrow starts the divisional round, so I need to make sure I get my picks in on time. Looking at the wild card round, I went 5-1, which is a lot better of a percentage than I was doing during the regular season when I was actively picking games. I kind of stopped at some point, and then I was like, man, I'm really bad at this. There are so many games excuse me. I just did not go the way I expected at all. But hey, playoffs, it's a fresh start. It's essentially a new season, and so far I'm looking really good. Which means that all of my picks for the divisional round onwards are now going to be completely wrong, so I should get humbled, which, yeah, I probably should. But let's at least kind of look over what happened in the wild card round, and then go into the divisional round and why I think things are going to happen and why they probably won't. So, the first game was Seahawks 49ers. Seahawks really gave them a fight. They were leading at halftime, and then the 49ers, it's kind of like the 49ers just went, oh, right, we're probably the best team in football. We should be winning this game. And then they did. The Seahawks, I can't say they got shut out in the second half because they didn't, because they scored like a touchdown right near the end. They were down, like 7? I don't remember what the final score was. Did the 49ers crack 40? I think they did, because I think they lost by like 17 or 14 after they had scored that last touchdown. But it was a good first half. And then it was that fumble that the Seahawks had. I think it was like early or mid in the third quarter. I think it was their first drive of the second half, because I think the 49ers had just taken the lead. Seahawks were driving down the field, and then that fumble happened. All momentum was gone, and just kind of got screwed. No, I can't say screwed, because screwed makes it sound like some bullshit happened. It was a good defensive play. It is not that they got screwed. At that point, they just got outmatched. But great season by them. Great season for Geno, man. Like, I don't mean that to be condescending. Like, good job, man. I'm like, no, that was amazing to watch. That was amazing to follow. Yes, I wanted the Lions to get the 7th seed. I won't lie. But if any other team was going to get it, except my Saints. But if anyone else was going to get it, I'm really happy it was Geno. And hey, I mean, yeah, they kind of got their asses kicked by the end of the game, but they fought. They really did. They put up a better fight than I thought they would. Next, the Chargers Jags. So yeah, this was the game where they were up 27-0 and they lost 31-30. I picked the Chargers, sorry, that is wrong because I did pick the Jaguars. That's what I meant to say. That was a Freudian slip. But Freudian slip would be more like if I said the thing I actually meant and then was like, no, I didn't mean that. That was just a slip of the tongue. Regardless, I did pick Jacksonville. While the game was happening, so we didn't watch it. We were doing our DreamWorks movies. I was watching Flushed Away, which is my least favorite so far. Just did not care for that movie. I think that's another reason why. I think I talked about it in the videos. Like, I don't like the movie, and I could have been watching the second half. But once the halftime score was not 27-0, it was 27-7, I looked at Clay and said, Jacksonville is winning this game. I had texted a friend of mine, another friend who watches football. We were memeing on Trevor Lawrence for throwing 4 picks in the first half, 3 in the first quarter. And how I think there was a point in the game where he had as many completions as interceptions. It was 4 and 4, and it looked bad. As soon as they scored, I was like, okay, Jags are winning. I got the score wrong. I had said 37-34 because I thought at that point the Chargers would at least score a second half touchdown. But I knew the Chargers were going to charger. And sure enough, they did. I'm left unsurprised by that. I'm surprised they've said we're sticking with Brandon Staley. I mean, you could argue, like, well, how much of this particular game was his fault? You know, he's a defensive guy, and the offense didn't really do much in the second half. It's like, well, yeah, you're a defensive guy, and your defense got 4 turnovers. There was also a turnover on downs in the first half, which is still a turnover. So defense got 5 in the first half, special teams got 1, but you still lost, and your defense gave up 31 points. By the end of the game, that would be 28 oh shit, I don't know math. 24 points, I believe, in the second half. That's still not good. You're also the guy who really screwed up that opportunity last year with not only that bad timeout, but that really dumb fourth down call. Like, before the game was really at a point where you need to do fourth downs, because it was what, like 4th and 2 on their own, like 25 or like 28, something like that. And yeah, they didn't convert and the Raiders scored. It might not have been a touchdown, it was a field goal. When a game that went into overtime, all those points really matter. I don't know. I mean, like I've said it before, like I don't say like I want to see somebody fail unless they are a terrible person who I feel like, no, you're an asshole, you deserve it. I've never seen anything like that about Brandon Staley, so I'm not saying I pray for your downfall, you need to fail. But I feel like that's 2 really big disappointments in a row. I'm kind of surprised. I hope they have a good season next year then. I really do. But I really thought what was going to happen was like they're going to lose this game. Brandon Staley is going to be let go. And then they're going to say, cool, we now need Sean Payton because we want a really good offensive guy with Justin Herbert. But yeah, also props to the Jags, man. Like, making a huge comeback like that. That's like, did I predict it would happen? Yes. Am I still kind of surprised that it happened? A bit. Good on them, though. Next was Dolphins-Bills. The Bills were cruising until they weren't. It was like, oh yeah, they're up 17-0. This is about what I expected. All right, looks like the ass whipping is about to begin. What do you mean the game is tied? What do you mean the Dolphins are winning at the start of the third quarter? What the fuck is happening? Buffalo won, but it is like they escaped. It's kind of, to me, like, I actually did not watch the game. Like, I've seen some highlights. I followed it as it was happening. It seems like it was really similar to what happened in the AFC Championship between KC and Cincy last year. Where it's, here's the team that is expected to win. And look, they're up to a really big lead. Like a 3-score lead. They're dominating the way they were supposed to. Then they just stopped. And I think part of that is the confidence and the arrogance of when you know you're such a heavy favorite and you get out to that big lead, and you're like, yeah, we can just kind of cruise. We're good. There's kind of that sense of maybe playing with your food. Excuse me. And then the food fights back because they're still professional athletes. I mean, this went a lot better for Buffalo than it did for Kansas City because they still got the win. But Buffalo is really mortal. And watching Josh Allen is the biggest wild card and X factor for this team, and that's both really good and really bad. He has an amazing arm. He's really tough. He can run. Like, he's fast. He's also a really tough physical runner. You love that stuff. Bro has a lot of interceptions. He has, I don't know how many fumbles he has. I don't think it's a small amount. He is very turnover prone. And if they're able to get a clean game from him with, like maybe 1 interception, which even then you don't want, but like if he's able to play a clean game, no turnovers, and still, hit those deep balls, hit those clutch runs, that is what makes the Bills look like an unstoppable team. But when Josh Allen is screwing up like that, I mean, granted, the Dolphins also had a good defense, but I mean, it's not like Cincy is going to be a walk in the park. But, I mean, Buffalo did what they were supposed to. Again, big congrats to the Dolphins. Like, they gave a much better fight than I was expecting. I mean, maybe they'll be a lot better next year. I'm really not sure about what they're going to do with their quarterback. Because Tua didn't play because of his concussions, which was, like the 3rd he suffered this year? That's a lot. That's a very concerning number. And I think about that, like, yes, there's the organization of, okay, we have a guy who's injury prone? Do we want to keep him? Do we want to move on from him? What do we want to do? There's also the human side of that of, this man has suffered 3 concussions in the span of a year, and 2 of them were in the span of like less than a week. Is he okay? Should he be out there still? I don't know. I am genuinely like not a medical expert. I don't know. But I hope whatever happens with Tua is just, like, I sincerely wish him all the best with his health and with his career, man. But, I mean, congrats to the Bills for moving on. Next is Giants-Vikings. I did pick the Giants to win. I remember saying, I'm going back and forth. I can see the Vikings, I can see the... fuck it, I'm going to pick the Giants. And they did. I was glad I went with that pick. This was a fun game. I had so much fun watching it. I won't lie. Like, I was watching it. I was also, like, reading Muv-Love as it was happening. And it was like the climax of like, oh, dude, like a lot of crazy shit's happening here. Crazy shit's happening here. All right, I got to stop this because it's like a big play. Oh, shit. All right, now we're, like, the game is not as exciting in this moment. Now we go back to the climax. Oh, shit, but now it's like a 4th down. I got to see what's happening. It was a lot of fun watching those at the same time. And one thing I liked about this game is some of the symmetry in it. Like, all right, Vikings, get the ball. Go down the field, score a touchdown. Giants do the exact same thing. Like, I liked how that matched. Near the end of the game, or not really near the end, I think it was near the end of the first half, Giants had a chance to score a touchdown, but a penalty wiped it off the board. They settled for 3. Then near the end of the game, Vikings have a chance to score a touchdown. Like, it's a 4th and 1. They convert. You get the horn, and it's like, oh shit, like they kind of got the Giants on the ropes right now, because I think the Giants were up 3. So if the Vikings get a field goal, they're tied. If they score the tutty, they're up 4. Pressure is on the Giants now, which it kind of was all game anyways, because it's a very back and forth game. Like, this is one of those where offense is required, defense is optional kind of games. And, like, they got it, but there was a false start penalty, so they ended up getting backed up. So instead of a 4th and 1, it's like a 4th and 6 or a 4th and 5, like it's 5 yards. But depending on how close the ball was, it still could have been like a 4th and 5. Sometimes that shit happens. And they're like, nah, we got to kick the field goal. Tied. So, like, ooh, both teams had a chance to, like, really put some pressure on the other team with a touchdown. Had it. You actually had the tutty wiped off the board, but you had the 4th down conversion wiped off the board. Both had to settle for 3, and the game became a lot more manageable from the other side. There were some, I've never really watched TJ Hawkinson because I haven't watched a lot of Lions games. I don't get them very often. And then, so, like, yeah, this was his first time being in the playoffs because he was traded to Minnesota, which was kind of weird that they traded within the division. But regardless, he's got that dog in him, man. I was like, man, like, he is making a lot of, like, really clutch catches, these big-time catches. This guy's great. And I think Hodgins was the name of that guy on the Giants who was doing the same shit. I'm like, man, this dude is clutch. This guy's badass. This is such a good, fun game. And then the Giants have that chance to ice the game. And Darius Slayton, like, it hits him in the hands. It hits him in the chest. And there's green grass in front of him. And you're like, man, he's going to get the first down. Game over. Oh, he dropped it. Ooh, if the Giants lose this game, man, that's so shitty. And then the Vikings have that chance, and then Kirk Cousins did not play bad in this game. This was not a prime-time Kirk Cousins showing, but a prime-time Kirk Cousins mistake happened. So on 4th and 8, they throw it short of the sticks, like they threw it 3 yards, a check down, and TJ Hawkinson, who've been going off all game, tough catches, clutch catches, could not convert. And there went the season. And like I said, Vikings, with the way they have played, they're either one and done or they're going all the way. They were one and done, and I was right. The next game was Ravens-Bengals, which is basically the exact same game as Bills-Dolphins, where I'm like, oh, okay, it's another divisional game. This is round 3. This team is heavily favored. This team is not playing their starting quarterback. They have a very good defense, but that offense is probably going to struggle all game, and so the team that's at full health is probably going to dominate. And while the team that was at full health won, it was way closer than I thought it was going to be. This is probably going to sound blasphemous. I'm not super impressed with Joe Burrow in the playoffs. He's a really good quarterback. And I think his best trait is his poise. It's his swagger. There's the sense that this dude is not fazed by anything. He's not scared of anything, which is a really good thing to have. But even last year, I never really got the sense I'm like, dude, this dude is going off. He is dominating. He's playing well. Like, he's playing fine. Not like this guy is ass in the playoffs. But it feels more like the whole team is really good. And the defense is clutch. Those clutch interceptions off Tannehill. Interception off Mahomes. At the end of the AFC, like when the game went into overtime, stopping the Chiefs from scoring a touchdown from like the 1 or the 2 yard line at the end of the first half, like before the end of the game, making Mahomes fumble, so they had to settle for 3 instead of trying to get another touchdown. They came in clutch, and even in the Super Bowl, like the one like really big play that I remember them having was because I don't remember who the receiver was. I want to say it was T. Higgins. Like, Higgins ripped Ramsey's face mask, and the refs didn't see it and didn't call it. With the big lead, the Bengals didn't it wasn't a big lead, but, like, they had the lead for most of the second half, and drive after drive just ended in no points. So I don't look at this and go, like, man, Joe Burrow is, like, he's only lost 1 game in the playoffs, and it's the Super Bowl. Because, like, I don't like QB wins as a stat. I really don't. Because, I mean, Joe Flacco, I think, won a game in the playoffs where he went like 3 for 10 for 34 yards or some shit. Like, I don't think that's quite the stat line, but it's something crazy like that where, like, yeah, that's not very good, but he's credited with the win. That Rams-Raiders Thursday night game a few weeks ago where some dude started the game and then they benched him after the first drive and they put in Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield does not get that game as a quarterback win because he didn't start it. The other guy does, even though he had 3 plays that he was present in. You can have a game where your quarterback is ass, and it's like, whoa, but I mean, he's got this big playoff win. It's like, yeah, but that's because the team was really good. He didn't do shit. Or vice versa, where a QB plays his ass off, and they lose. Like, look at Brady in the that Eagles Super Bowl, where I don't remember like how many yards and touchdowns he had. Like, he was going off. Yes, like there was that really funny play where like the like Philly special thing where like he missed it, and like, yes, that's memey as hell. That's on Brady, but he played incredibly well regardless. But it's still a loss, and like you kind of look at it as like, well, that's another Super Bowl loss, which he has like double the amount of wins that he does losses. But it's why QB stats to me is a dumb stat. I don't care how well, like how many times you have won, because it's all about your team. You can play well and have a shit defense, or vice versa. But regardless, like what I've seen Mahomes play incredibly well in the playoffs. I've seen Allen have crazy playoff games. I haven't seen that yet from Joe Burrow. It can definitely happen, but I just haven't seen it yet. And I'm especially with this Bills-Bengals game coming up, I really hope this is whether they win or lose, that this is the Joe Burrow playoff coming out party. Let's go. And again, not to say that he hasn't had some clutch plays, because like he has, but I think you know what I mean. Like I don't feel like I have seen a playoff game where he has said, taking the team, putting him on my back. Look at the divisional game last year between the Bills and the Chiefs. Both of them did it. Allen had a game-winning drive and somehow still lost the game. Like, that's fucking crazy. But we don't put that on Josh Allen. If Mahomes had lost that, we're not really going to put that on Mahomes because of how well he played the entire game. Like, I want to see that kind of performance from Burrow in the playoffs. The only other game that happened in the wild card round, which the one I got wrong, was Cowboys-Bucks. I thought this game was going to be a very close game with both teams playing like shit, because the Bucks have been a shit show all year, and as they beat us twice, we were worse. Don't get me wrong. Kind of weird. Like, yeah, the Saints got swept by the Bucks, swept by the Panthers, but at least we swept the Falcons, so small victories, I guess, but I was really happy we swept the Falcons. Anyways, point. Cowboys had not looked good the past, like they really didn't look good the previous game. They kind of fucked up against the Jaguars. They did beat the Eagles against Gardner Minshew. So there's a bit of an asterisk there. But then the Eagles beat the Cowboys without Dak, so there's kind of an asterisk there, which I kind of hope they play each other in the NFC Championship. It's like, all right, a full-strength Cowboys. I mean, the Eagles really aren't going to be full strength because they're missing a lot of people. I want to see these two teams at full strength. Like, oh, sorry, I really scratched my nose. Okay. Want to see these teams at full strength go at it with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. Sounds like a lot of fun. But, well, I guess we'll talk about if I actually think they will when I get to my picks. But regardless, this was not a close game. Cowboys destroyed them, and it would have looked a little worse if Brett Maher had made his kicks. The fact that he missed 4 extra points is kind of insane. I was like, is it like super windy? Like, are they getting blocked? No, he's just shaking them. That's really bad. Yeah, I mean, Cowboys defense just smothered the running game. I saw Brady under pressure quite a few times. He got sacked a couple times. Threw an red zone interception, which he had not done as a Buccaneer. He had, like, that's kind of crazy. Dak had one of the best games of his career, possibly the best game of his career. No interceptions. I 100% thought he was going to throw a pick six because he's, like, led the league in interceptions this year. Clean game. Like, that's the kind of shit I need to see from Josh Allen. No interceptions, no fumbles, some clutch runs, clutch throws. Good job to the Cowboys, man. Like, what a dominant game. And I'm not really going to speculate on Brady right now. We'll do that at another point. But, I mean, good win. Anything else I wanted to say here? Okay, so that's basically it. So now we get into the picks. So the first game is going to be Jacksonville at Kansas City. Is that the first game? Yes, it is. I am picking Kansas City to win. I think this is going to be... No. Okay, let me rewind that. I think the Chiefs have learned from last year's AFC Championship game. They're going to be heavily favored, hosting a very young, up-and-coming kind of team. I think the Chiefs are going to get a pretty big lead. And instead of doing what happened last year, where they just kind of shat the bed completely in the second half, like it felt like they were playing like we've already won the game and we're going to win the game, so we're fine. They're going to step on their throats. They are not going to give the Jags a chance to come back. It's like, we learned from last year. Also, we learned from watching that shit last week. We can't give this team a chance. We have to play an aggressive defense the entire way. We have to play an aggressive offense the entire way. We cannot let up. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think the game is going to be close. Like, I think the Jags are going to get down early, are going to make a game of it, and will lose by 2 scores. Like something, it'll be like a 10, 14-point game by the end. But I think Kansas City is going to be able to hold on and maybe host the AFC Championship. If they play Cincinnati, they will. Okay, I have to say it. It's really fucking stupid that they had a special rule where, all right, because this game isn't being played, if you two are in the AFC Championship, this happens. If you're in the AFC Championship, okay, let me set it like this. I'm not trying to say that these rules are stupid. The one that's stupid is that this divisional game between Buffalo and the Bengals, I guess I'm going to skip the NFC game. I'm just going to go straight into this one right now. Why is this one not at a neutral site? Because that game would have determined it. If Buffalo won that game, they'd be the number 1 seed. If Cincy won, they would be the 2 seed, and they would have been hosting this. And granted, then Buffalo would have played the Ravens, and the Bengals would have played the Dolphins, which still would have been rematches. But regardless, this game should have been played at a neutral site. The fact that it is being played in Buffalo, no bullshit, is weird, and I think it's dumb. All the other stuff, it's an unprecedented situation. I like that they're like, all right, let's try to do this to be fair to everyone. What about this? What? I think this one part of it is dumb. Looking at this game, I was just talking about it. Buffalo looks really mortal. Cincinnati does not look unbeatable. I have yet to see a playoff game where Joe Burrow takes over, puts the team on his back, and says, we are going to win. I've seen Allen do that. But I've also seen Allen throw really bad interceptions and fumble and put his team in a bad situation. My head looks at this game and says, I think the Bengals have this. My heart looks at this and says, I think this is Buffalo's game. I'm going to go with my heart. I'm going to pick the Bills. Excuse me. If Cincinnati wins, I will take the loss on it. I will not be surprised. So, moving on to the NFC games. The first one is Giants-Eagles. Just like what I was just saying, this is another head versus heart game where my head's like, okay, well, Eagles are the 1 seed. They have potentially the MVP in Jalen Hurts. It's Hurts or it's Mahomes. You can make a strong argument either way. It's like, well, they have a potential MVP. They have the 1 seed. They played the Giants twice, beat them both times. The first time was just both teams at full strength, ass whipping. Second time, well, Giants rested their starters, so it's still a win, but it doesn't really count because no one really. The Eagles were playing for shit, and the Giants were like, yeah, whatever, we're fine. We're just going to rest and make sure we're good for the playoffs. But you still did beat them twice, and there's that one game where it was so dominant. But how healthy are they? Hurts has had some time to recover, but, is he 100%? I don't really know. What about Lane Johnson? Or right tackle? I think he plays right tackle. I know he's on the O-line. He's, a pretty key piece of that offense. Is he good to go? And if he plays, is he at 100%, or is he still kind of nursing something? That defense is scary. The Vikings did not have a good defense. The Eagles do. They are going to be going after Daniel Jones. And Darius Slay, I feel like, is going to have a good game. He's probably going to get a really clutch interception. Something I probably should have said in the Giants Vikings game is, Danny Dimes did not turn the ball over. And I was actually really surprised he played a clean game. I don't know if how well he's been doing that this year, but I know in the last few, this man has a fumble problem. I don't know if really that we're going to see that, but I think there's 3 or 4, maybe even 5 dudes in the Eagles defense that have 10 plus sacks. It's actually insane how good they are. So my head's looking at this and going, Philly's got this. Yeah, there's some potential injuries, but the team as a whole is really good. And then my heart looks at it and it's well, it is the Giants. And this isn't Eli Manning, but it is his successor. It's not Tom Coughlin, but I really like Brian Dable. This is a team that doesn't have any fear. I really don't think they do. Yeah, the Eagles beat them twice, but the second one doesn't really count because they weren't playing their starters, and even then, Giants kept it close. And while the Eagles have had time to heal, the Giants are hot right now. They just won a playoff game. They feel good. They feel strong. They could march into Philly. And, if Philly's not 100% healthy, could this happen? Oh, boy. They were playing Gardner Minshew at the time, but they also lost to the Saints. And my Saints are bad. Ooh. Head says Eagles, heart says Giants. I picked heart a little bit ago, so I should go with my head. And every time I picked against the Eagles, they tend to win. But I'm gonna say the Giants. This is one of those where I'm I am 100% taking the upset. I don't even know if I think this is going to happen. Because the other one, this is what my head says, this is what my heart says. And honestly, both of them make good cases because these are two good teams that are both very beatable. But I want Buffalo to win more than I want. Like, I don't hate the Bengals or anything. I'm like, I want you guys to win more, and I think you still genuinely can, so I'm going to pick you. This is it's got to be the Eagles, right? Like, the Eagles are probably going to win by, like, 20 because their defense is going to smother Daniel Jones. But I'm still going to pick the Giants. I think because I just want to see the chaos. So here we go. Then moving on to the final game of the weekend, Cowboys-Niners. I'm picking San Francisco. Now, I mean, yeah, like I said, Dallas really impressed me on Monday night. They dominated. They also dominated a bad team. The 49ers are not that. The Bucs offense has no run game. This team has CMC and Deebo Samuel. The Bucs have good receivers, but their passing game just has not clicked pretty much all year. This team has CMC and Deebo Samuel. It also has Ayuk. It also has Kittle. Brock Purdy's pretty good. The Bucs have they have a good defense. The 49ers have possibly the best defense in the league. I think they have the best defense remaining. And yeah, the Cowboys have a good defense too. But I am what you did was impressive. But you did beat on a bad team. Now you have to play one of the big dogs. And if your kicker plays the way he played in Tampa, you're going to need Sorry, I was just talking about... you guys are going to need those points against San Francisco. I think San Francisco wins. I don't know how... I don't think Dallas is going to get blown out. But I feel like it's going to be one of those... I think it's going to be something relatively similar to the college football playoff game between Alabama and Oklahoma a few years ago. It was Kyler Murray. Where... from what I remember, because I did watch it, and it's been a few years, I think it was a consistently 2-3 score game with Alabama being ahead because they got up early, 14-0. Maybe it was 17-0. And then Oklahoma was able to kind of find their groove and score, but Alabama then just kept matching them. And I feel like it's that kind of game where it's the Cowboys still mathematically and theoretically keep having a chance because they're able to find a groove and are able to put points up or able to get a stop on occasion. But the 49ers are they're able to match it and just keep staying ahead. And not oh yeah, they're up by 3 or they're up by 6. No, they're consistently up by 14, 17, maybe 20-ish. And the game is just gonna be out of reach. So my picks are Kansas City, Buffalo, so a rematch of last year's divisional round, and then weirdly enough, Giants and San Francisco, which would be a rematch of, I think, a few NFC championships. I think they've played at least one other time, because I know there was the time in, I don't remember what the year was, 2012? It was 2011. It was a 2011 season because that was Eli's second ring. I think they had played once before that. I could be wrong. Giants are undefeated in NFC Championship, so I'm just going to go and say it. If they make it there, I'm picking them to go to the Super Bowl. Which would be bonkers if the Super Bowl is literally Giants-Bills, an all-New York game, which has happened before, and that was the wide right game, which was the one time Buffalo actually had a chance to win a Super Bowl. I mean, they've been to others, but they kind of got their asses kicked every time. That was the one, that's super fucking interesting and exciting. But those are my picks. I'm excited to see what happens this weekend.